Kia ora, team. I used to go to other people's breathwork classes, and when I was first learning breathwork on my healing journey, when I was moving through my own depression and anxiety, and I'd always come away from it not understanding how it all worked. Why was I crying? Why were other people yelling and doing all this fucking weird shit? No one could tell me. They were just like, breathwork will heal you. You hear your mum when you grow up and they're like, take a deep breath, slow down. You're like, okay, cool. Why though? Why the fuck does it work? How? Physiologically, what is happening in my body to make this change? It would frustrate me. People would tell me to go take a deep breath, go do meditation and be thoughtless for a minute. Why? How's it work? Tell me about this. Tell me physiologically why it makes those changes. So in my studies and in healing myself, I made it a real goal of mine to have a real deep understanding of physiologically how this works in the body, so that with all my clients and helping them through their shit, it would then make that switch in the brain. Rather than just telling someone to go sit down and do something, they can understand why they're doing it, and then it becomes a game in their head in how to improve that every fucking day, rather than just sitting down, not knowing what they're doing and being mindless about it. Now, today, we are overactivated in the sympathetic nervous system, or fight or flight. This is a system developed for punching a tiger in the face or running from it very fast. Yet we're getting activated in this exact same system for prolonged periods of times, simply by an email from our boss or unrealistic perfectionism we put on ourselves, or a fight with our partner. Now, the system is developed it was made in humans or evolved in humans to be activated in acute situations, so very short situations, to take away positive adaptations. Remaining in the system for far too long creates an inflammatory response in the body, a stress response. And when we are in this response for far too long, well, in short, it can lead to cancer. If we remain in fight or flight for far too long, the body just ends up inflamed and horrible. Can lead to IBS, depression, anxiety, all of these things. Now, there's several ways to take back control of the system and bring us further back down the curve. One of them is nutrition, making sure that we are nourished with good whole foods, non-processed shit causing inflammation itself. We're moving in a way that isn't necessarily jumping on fucking boxes every day, like F45, for example. We're doing slow controlled weights and then separating that with our cardio as well. Or if we are in a heightened state, like maybe you have a child, and you are getting lack of sleep already, you're already up high in the stress curve. So meaning F45 and fast movements and jumping on boxes isn't going to be conducive to your overall goal, because it's kicking you up higher in that stress curve anyway. So there's several ways that we can regain control of the sympathetic nervous system: movement, nutrition, connection, back to yourself, back to nature. But the fastest way is the breath. And really, I make it my goal to get a complete understanding of how this works. So why is the breath the fastest way to controlling our autonomic nervous system, or the sympathetic nervous system, versus the parasympathetic, fight or flight versus rest and digest? Well, the way that it works is when we breathe, our heart volume changes and diaphragmatic volume changes, and therefore neurologically we change as well. So when we breathe in, diaphragm moves down. Therefore, our heart increases in size. Therefore, it needs to pump harder to pump the blood out of it, so it speeds up. So, neurologically, we speed up as well. When we breathe out, diaphragm moves up, therefore making the heart smaller, therefore making it not need to pump as hard to pump the blood out of it. Therefore, the heart slows down. Therefore, neurologically, we also slow down. We go from fight or flight to rest and digest if we can predominantly breathe out. For example, 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out. Notwithstanding this, the lungs take up the span of a tennis court. You are breathing into your upper chest most of the fucking day. That breath is not traveling to the lower lobes of the lungs. It is not traveling the span of a tennis court. We wonder why we are stressed, depressed, anxious, and sad. Well, we're not even getting optimal oxygen perforation to the lower lobes of the lungs. What is the role of oxygen? It is nutrient delivery. When our brain and our body does not have optimal nutrients, it shuts down other creative pathways and goes into survival mode, i.e. fight or flight. It wants to conserve energy to run from that tiger tomorrow. Right? And so by not giving it enough nutrients or not giving it enough oxygen, we are triggering a subconscious level of the fight or flight response, and we are not able to react to situations in our everyday from the best or most optimal place, creatively, neurologically, and all of these things, okay? So we're coming from a much lesser versions of ourselves if we are in fight or flight all day. So bringing a consciousness back to the breath, breathing fully into the lower lobes of the lungs, but also extending our exhale long and slow to change our heart volume will bring us from a fight or flight to a rest and digest. My favorite way to come down from a fight or flight to rest and digest is a double inhale and extended exhale. One through the nose, then the mouth to fill right up those lower lobes, and then extend the exhale as long and as slow as we can. Diaphragm is moving up, heart volume is going smaller. We breathe through the nose to get nitric oxide through our perinasal cavity. This is a vasodilator. It allows the oxygen to travel further in our body, in short. Second breath through the mouth to expand the lower lobes of the lungs that aren't getting optimal perforation of that singular breath. So, and slowing that breath all the way down so that the heart volume is predominantly smaller, and therefore neurologically we're slowing down as well from fight or flight to rest and digest. Now, the body also doesn't really have time to fucking sit and breathe and do these things when it's running from a tiger. So what we're doing is we're showing our body, hey, I'm not running from a fucking tiger. It's just a fight with my partner, or it's just a shitty email from the fucking boss. I don't need to be in this system to deal with this. So by stopping, slowing down, physiologically, we're showing our brain that we're not actually running from a fucking tiger, and I don't need to be activated in this fight or flight system. So our body slows down as well. We change from a situation where we're very reactive, we're hot-headed, and we're real snappy, to a place where we can respond and analyze the situation from a much better space. This allows us to show up as a much better version of ourselves, and it allows us to repair, recover, and heal, right? If we are in fight or flight for far too long and we're dealing with these traumatic experiences, our body just wants to conserve energy to get the fuck out of bed every day and get the fuck back into bed to conserve energy. Whereas then if we can show our body regularly how we come into rest and digest, it creates a little bit of space for us to heal. It creates a space to be like, to analyze emotions as they are and as they come at us, rather than embody them like being a bull in front of a red flag. All right. Now, with breath work, the crying part, which is like when people do hyperventilatory practices, we store trauma in the limbic system. The limbic system stores our trauma in a nonlinear fashion, meaning time does not exist, meaning the trauma you experience from that breakup is as relevant as it was then as it is today, unless you can see it in a positive light. So at a subconscious level, every time we think about it, we're releasing this cortisol and negative hormonal response to these traumas that we're holding on to. So by regaining control of our breath and our neurological system, we are able to analyze these traumas a lot better and then reframe them to take away a positive adaptation from them. So for example, when I found out my father was on methamphetamine and I lost my business and I was going homeless, breathwork allowed me to create a little bit of space to then move through that trauma, have a cry, and then it allowed me to stop embodying it and take that negativity into every day and start looking for the good lessons in it. So instead of fuck you, dad, it became a cool, thank you. You taught me how to build a business, and now I know how to recognize a narcissist, right? So breathwork allows you to create that space to feel the emotion, for one, because it's necessary to feel emotions. Emotions are just energy in motion, and if we don't allow our body to feel that, we just fucking push it down, and that gets stored as another form of stress, subconsciously activating that same fight or flight response every fucking day. And so it allows those emotions to come up, cry, grieve, feel to anything we are holding on. And then it allows us to hold up that mirror and be like, all right, cool. Now that I've moved through that and I've had a good cry and I've said, fuck you, cunt, to the world, now how can I look for the lessons? Where are the beauties in this? I would not be here today living in fucking Wanaka if all this bullshit didn't happen to me, right? So it allows you that space to move through and look for these lessons. Now, that's how breathwork works. If you have any questions, please reach out. I incorporate this in all of my coaching, be it a 2-minute routine, a 10-minute routine, maybe a 30-minute fucking cry on the weekends to help you move through your things. My goal is to help people from all aspects. Some people, sometimes telling someone to just to go to the fucking gym and eat healthy isn't going to be very conducive to their goals if they've got some big fucking trauma or some subconscious layer of shit and stress that they're dealing with. There's no point in telling them to do these things until we can clear this out, right? Because subconsciously we're releasing far too much cortisol, far too much adrenaline for them to achieve their body weight or their body fat goals or their physical goals. So it's very, very important to help them move through these things to reduce the cortisol levels, because at its core, cortisol is just going to make us store body fat to run from that tiger, because that's what body fat is, right? It's stored energy. So helping people clear out that cortisol to then create a safe space to heal, move through, drop body fat, build muscle, or do whatever the fuck they want and hit their overall goals. It also helps them show up as the best version of themselves. It opens up their singular pathways of get out of bed, go to sleep, fucking don't do anything. It minimizes that internal voice that tells you, hey, you're worthless, you're shit, you can't do anything, because that's just your body trying to protect you from running from a tiger. It just wants to conserve energy. So by doing these things, it opens up these new creative pathways to now backing yourself and allowing yourself to do all these fucking beautiful things, because your body's no longer trying to conserve energy from these huge fucking stresses in your life that just aren't running from a tiger, right? It's just a shitty email from the boss, or in my situation, my dad being a cunt, or being dumped, or losing my job at the time, right? It allows us to analyze these situations for exactly what they are, and then look for the lessons and move through them in a positive frame, and then bring that into a beautiful frame for our future ahead, and move through into the future that we deserve and know is there for us. If you have any questions, reach out. I'm here to help. Sending lots of love. Have a beautiful Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. Have a beautiful Thursday.